Hello and welcome to today's episode of the Johnny Lawrence podcast. I thought I would do something a little bit different today and I would talk about my weekend. You're like, really? It's a bit self-indulgent, Johnny, and perhaps it is. But this weekend was very different to most because for those of you that have been following me on social media, you will most likely know that this weekend I had the privilege of delivering my Fear to Purpose workshop at the Happy Place Festival in Tatton Park in Cheshire. And it was absolutely incredible. It really was. I learned a lot from that experience. So today I'm going to share that experience. I'm going to share what led up to it and I'm going to share what happened on the day. But I'm also going to share what I feel is 3 really important reflections, insights, whatever you want to call them. I stopped short of calling them tips or advice or anything like that. But I wanted to share them because, see, as a coach, sometimes people put you on a pedestal. They think that when you're giving out different perspectives, which is what I always try to do, offer perspective on things that gives that person autonomy to take what's useful and discard what isn't, instead of just thinking that there's only one way to do something. So when I offer these perspectives, sometimes people think that or assume that or make that assumption that I am coming at this from I've figured out the hacks in life, that I know what's best for everybody else. And that's never the case. In fact, I don't believe that anybody can know what's best for somebody else. I think the person generally does, and my job is to listen and reflect what I hear, but also to get them to see and confront the fear that's often standing in the way between them and what they want, or the change they need to make, or that feeling of becoming unstuck. And the thing is, as much as I've learned over time and as much as I've educated myself and had all these different experiences that flavor the application of that experience that I've had or that education I have, I make mistakes. It doesn't matter what I know. I still make mistakes, because here's the thing, to be human is to make mistakes, is for things to be messy. And although this weekend went better than I could ever imagine, you wouldn't have thought it if you had seen what led up to it. So I'm going to share the whole experience, and then I'm going to share what I feel that I've learned and what was most insightful for me. But I want to start by saying, setting the scene, if you will. See, I've spoken at a few festivals in the past, most notably the Latitude Festival, which is a music festival. And whenever you get to a festival, these events are generally quite chaotic. They are usually really big events with loads of music, lots of busyness, lots of activities and things going on, loads of colours and sounds and smells and food and people, and there's alcohol and all those sorts of things going on. And it's a real crazy, chaotic environment. And that, in essence, is what sometimes people sign up for when it comes to the festivals. But I'd never been to anything like the Happy Place Festival, because there was none of that. It was the most serene and peaceful and calming, but seriously so much fun festival that I'd ever been to in my life. And I have to say, as someone that was contributing to the show and delivering a workshop, I was quite appreciative of that, because I was quite nervous. But just from the moment I got in, the energy and the people that I run into, it was just a fabulous event. It really was. And it was my first time going there. And it was just really calming. It instantly put me in a calm place and really helped towards delivering the workshop later on in that day. But leading up to this thing, unfortunately, a couple of weeks ago, I pulled my back out in the gym and I wasn't really able to move very well at all for a good week. And then I started to get movement back, but I was still in a lot of pain. So I was a bit concerned about that. And then a good few days before that, unfortunately, I caught a cold from my wife. So in the back of my mind, I obviously hoped that things would work out and that I'd had enough time to shift the cold, or at the very least, I could dose myself up on something and get through it. But it wasn't ideal. And being honest with you, this is a very big opportunity for me. I feel that I want to speak to bigger audiences. I've got things that seem to resonate with people and share, and I try to simplify what some others may find very complicated. I try to understand it, simplify it, and then translate it in a way which is easy to understand, not because I'm smarter than anyone else, just because that's the way I understand it. And I've often found that the way I understand things, the way that I translate things, is helpful to other people. So that's what I try to do at all times. And I was experiencing the irony of giving a presentation on fear, basically, which included elements of imposter syndrome, perfectionism, procrastination, comparison, which are ways that fear shows up in our life. And there I was throughout the day experiencing quite a lot of imposter syndrome. So there's that. But the actual event itself went absolutely brilliantly. it was significant to me, and here's why. As much as I tried to fight it, showing up on that day, and I said this as the opening part of my talk, of my workshop, those people in that room, which was sold out, one of my biggest fears was that no one was going to be there and that I was going to be speaking to nobody. And my ops manager, Tasha, she got there before me. She's early everywhere, I think. And she sent me a picture, and it was the board of the meditation tent. And next to my name and my workshop was the word sold out. And that was equally exciting and relieving and validating and all of these very powerful emotions. But also, as you can imagine, quite terrifying. Because now I'm like, oh, right, okay, cool. What does that mean? Sold out? How many people's that? Oh, no, what if they don't like it? Blah, 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 and all that sort of stuff. So there was that was first. But also there was the bad back and the cold and all of those things. And there was some stuff with the slide. So about a month ago, I reached out to Happy Place just to ask what slide format they wanted me to turn up in. And I found that when I go around talking around the country, I'm never really that nervous about talking. I'm always pretty happy with the things that I talk about. I'm very knowledgeable on them. I can talk about them for a long time, and I try to adapt it to the room. But it seems to always be technology where I come unstuck. Either the microphone or the slide format's wrong, or something happens and it's like, and there's a little bit of messing about. So I thought I'd get ahead of it. I messaged them and said, what's the slide format? And they said, what slide format? And I was like, yeah, Johnny, this is a tent in the middle of a field. There's not likely to be a big projector in the meditation tent. And then I realized I had to work the problem. So we ended up buying an easel and getting all of the slides printed out onto a nice presentation, and that solved that problem. And that worked really well on the day, thank goodness. But the biggest thing that I was turning up with on that day was they were getting the self-development coach, yes, the educator and all of those things, but they were also getting the scared little boy. That little boy whose father used to hurt him, used to physically and mentally torture him. The one that told him that he wasn't good enough, that he was making a fool of himself, that he would never amount to anything and he would always fail, that he was worthless. That little boy turned up too. And he stood in front of a sold-out crowd at Fern Cotton's Happy Place, which is quite a big event in our industry. And he delivered a successful workshop. So much so that so many people came up to me afterwards and said what they'd got from it. There was a lot of emotion. Lots and lots of people came over and shared with me what they'd got from that conversation, talking about how real it was and how helpful it was. And there was a group of ladies outside the tent. If they're listening, thank you for your feedback. Because when you told me that you had a job interview this week and that what I had spoken about and the workshop had helped you with that, that's exactly why I do what I do. So thank you for sharing that with me. And for the other lady that you was with that mentioned that she felt that a lot of self-development these days was unrealistic and wasn't applicable, but everything I had shared was helpful and helped them. That's exactly why I do it. To the lady that shared on social media that her and her daughter attended the workshop and that they were walking the next day reflecting on what they had listened to. And then she just wrote, "You made a difference." And honestly, I could go on, but it would feel self-indulgent. But the point I'm trying to make is that little boy that was taught to believe he wasn't enough, he showed up. He was scared. And then he used that fear, as I always say, as the exact ingredient to be brave. And all of those people in that room, I'm not sure how many there were, but there were a lot. You helped. You've helped that little boy heal. You've gone some way to giving him evidence that his father was wrong and that he isn't worthless and that he will amount to something in life. So I want to say thank you. Thank you for being there. Thank you for not allowing me to speak to an empty room. That's helped me. And that's what all this is about. Yes, a lot of the information was raw and honest and cut through to the real problems that we experience when it comes to fear and moving forward in life. But at the same time, I'm human and I have my challenges, and I was very grateful for everybody that was there. So thank you for that. So now I know that not everybody is going to be standing in front of a crowd and talking to people, but we do face problems, all of us. One of them might be applying for a job, like the lady that I spoke about a minute ago. And that might be difficult. I hope that's going well. Good luck with that, by the way. It might be starting a business, wondering whether you can make it successful and all of the anxieties that come with that. It might just be having a difficult conversation with somebody to try and set things straight, end them, or progress them on in some way, whatever it is. So I wanted to make sure that I didn't just talk about me and Maya's experience, although I do feel there's value in that story. What I was able to do on the journey home as I was driving back from Cheshire to Cornwall, where I live, I was thinking about what I really took from the whole experience. Really, what I took was three main things. And the first one was reframe your fear as energy. You see, we hear it all the time. Fear and excitement are the same thing, essentially. The sweaty palms, the stomach challenges, the headache, the pounding heart, all of these things could be anxiety and could be fear, but it can also be excitement. And the way that you translate that determines what your experience is. But really and honestly, a lot of the time, people challenge themselves and they say to themselves, what if I fail? What if this goes wrong? What if I make a fool of myself? You can do that and you'll get where you get. But what about the other question? What if this changes everything? See, in my experience that I had this weekend, yes, what if I fail is a question that is tempting to ask, but also, what if this event, what if this opportunity is the opportunity that changes everything for me? Both are possible. We don't know the answer to either. See, fear is an energy. Frankly, you're experiencing it whether you like it or not. But here's the thing about fear. Fear is there to help us. It doesn't feel like it. It's very tempting to start asking that what if I fail question. But actually, it's there whether we like it or not. And telling ourselves that we're not scared when we are, and understandably so, it's the right emotion. You're scared because you're doing something scary. So there's no problem there to solve. It is the right emotion. But telling yourself that you're not scared, lying to yourself, or telling yourself that you shouldn't be scared when you are, that's not helpful. That's not going to help you at all. But see, here's the thing. Fear is supposed to be there. And when you lean into it, when you realize that it's there to help you, that it's there to sharpen you up, that it's there to give you clarity, it's there to give you the focus that you need in order to zero in and hit flow and perform at the highest level, it doesn't feel like it. It really does give you all of those options to run, change your mind, doubt yourself in every single way. But actually, all the way up until the very moment I went to talk, and as soon as I was given the green light to go ahead and start talking, that fear just dropped away. And I realized that it was fuel. It was supposed to be there. It was there so that I could speak with confidence, so I could speak with power, so I could speak with clarity. And there was no more fear. I was able to speak clearly, proudly, and it was all due to that fear. That fear is necessary. That fear, that energy that fear possesses, it is necessary not just to be brave, like Muhammad Ali said, but it's necessary to sharpen you up, to keep you present, to keep you clear and concise, to give you that focus, to zero in on the mission and execute with flow and success. And I never realized that until that moment. That moment when it was showtime, I realized that I needed that fear. That fear woke me up. It was the wet fish slap in the face moment that I needed in order to move towards what it was that I wanted. But yet the moments before, the fear felt like it was trying to tear me away, trying to create doubt, trying to make me question myself. But I didn't. I leaned into it. I mean, what choice did I have? I was scared and I was determined to make sure that this thing was successful no matter what life threw at me. You might look at my Instagram and you'll see me with the photograph with Fern Cotton, which was an amazing experience in itself. And you might think, yeah, I just nailed that I just keep on hitting them out the park and never missing. But what you don't see is all of the anxiety, the sleepless nights. I didn't sleep a wink the night before. I sat there and I went through every conceivable way that this thing could go wrong. But it didn't. I mean, there could have been things that happened, of course. But when it comes down to it, when you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, when you're aligning with your purpose, when you're moving towards the person you want to become, that fear is absolutely necessary. You need it. You shouldn't deny it. You shouldn't repackage it as something being wrong. If you're scared because you're doing something scary, that is the right emotion. That is the fuel. That is the energy that you need in order to pursue the greatness that you are looking for and step into the person that you want to become. So that was the first shift. Reframe fear as energy. Next, and this might sound a bit strange at first, but bear with me, focus on service, not self. It's really easy and it would have been, I'm going to use myself as an example, it's really easy for me to talk at Happy Place and ask myself, what am I going to get from this? What are the opportunities that I'm going to get from this? What's the exposure, the awareness that I'm going to get for this, that my business is going to get from this? It's very easy to do that and apply all that pressure on myself. But instead, what I found more helpful and what comes more naturally to me is as soon as I found out that I was going to be stood in front of a captive audience of self-developers in a meditation tent at Happy Place, my thought was, what can I give these people? I'm going to show up and I am going to deliver the best workshop that I possibly can. I'm not talking about being better than anybody else. They'll do them. I'm talking about Johnny Lawrence turning up to Happy Place and delivering the Fear to Purpose workshop to the best capabilities that he can. And I wanted to do that, not for me, but for those people. I wanted to connect with every single person in that room. I wanted to talk honestly, vulnerably, openly about how it really is to be human. How it really is to experience fear, and that I experience it too, and that everyone experiences too. And I use the real in-time happenings of me being that little boy that was scared, that was always told, that was programmed to believe that they were worthless, useless, and making a fool of themselves all the time. And there I was standing there in front of one of the biggest audiences that you can get in an industry like mine. And I was delivering that talk, and there was emotion in the room, and there were people coming up to me afterwards telling me exactly what they got from it. And that was exactly what I wanted. When it comes down to it, focus on service, not yourself. Don't ask yourself what you can get out of this situation. Ask yourself what you can give, and give everything. Give 100% to that opportunity so that you can help those people in that room. You can help other people. You can provide a service, something, anything that's helpful. So we have to ask ourselves, we have to shift that focus away from what we can get or what we want from it to how can we serve, help, or impact others in this moment. And that's what I try to do, and that's what I found the most helpful. Instead of worrying about all the ways that it could go wrong for me and all of the things I needed to do in order to capitalize on it, I just decided to show up and give everything I had to those people. And hopefully they got what they needed from it. It certainly feels that way. So that's the second piece of insight that I learned. So the first was reframe fear as energy, and the second was focus on service, not self. And then the last was take fear in small doses. You see, when we have things that we're concerned about, when we have problems or issues, or we feel stuck, or we want to overcome a challenge in some way, really quite a lot of the time, the fear that stands in the way, the only real way to move through that is to expose ourselves to it in very small doses. It's a little bit like a vaccination. If you go to be vaccinated against something, that vaccination gives you a little bit of the problem of the thing you're being vaccinated against so that you can become more resistant to it. You can build immunity to it. And you can finally, if you get that thing that is vaccinating you against, that you can overcome it, that you're strong enough to overcome it. You'll probably still get it, and it will probably still be uncomfortable, but you won't get it fully because you will be prepared. You will have those antibodies and that vaccination. And that's a little bit what I'm trying to say to you here, is that you can't get rid of fear. It is an emotion. It is coming. You are experiencing. It is happening. There's nothing you can do about that. And you probably shouldn't, because as I said to you earlier, it is the right emotion in most cases if you're doing something scary. Using myself as an example, had I have never spoken before, thankfully I had, going straight to the Happy Place stage probably would have been a bad idea. It might not have gone as well as I had hoped. But because I had done lots of public speaking on different levels here and there and everywhere, when I got to that stage, I had subjected myself to microdoses of fear to such an extent that when I got there, I was able to manage that anxiety. You see, a lot of the time, our anxieties are telling us that something is wrong, that we fear the unknown, that we don't know what's going to happen. And our bodies are programmed to believe that we're always looking for the threat. What's the thing that's going to hurt us? What's the thing that's going to harm us? What's the thing that we should be aware of? What's the thing that we should prepare for? We're looking for the threat. All the things that are okay, all the things that are good, we don't need to worry about those. We can forget about those. It's the threat that we're interested in. So when you have an anxiety, when you tell yourself you have anxiety and you don't know what it is, your body's not going to accept that. It's going to start thinking about the worst case scenarios so that you can prepare for that. I always say it to clients, turn your anxieties into problems so you can turn your problems into solutions. You see, when I thought about Happy Place, it wasn't just Happy Place as a terrifying experience. It was all the tiny little micro moments. Firstly, about identifying what are these things that are making me anxious. So one of them was, would I get there on time? So once I got there on time and I parked in the car park and everything about it was nice and calm and chilled, I had to make sure I acknowledged that so that I could forget about that source of anxiety. The next one was finding the meditation tent. I found the meditation tent, everything was good. Another one was making sure that my presentation was safe and that kept out of the impending rain that was coming later in the day. So I went over and shout out to Busy, who was on the meditation tent. You were an absolute godsend. You really did look after me and I appreciate it. I've got a photo of us, by the way, that I'd love to send you. So reach out on social if you listen to the podcast. Making sure that was being well looked after. There were all of these different anxieties that were all coming together and creating this huge overwhelm. Where was the water stations that I could get water for? Because when I talk, I get a dry mouth. Where's the loo? Because I probably would have needed a loo just before the thing, because that's what always happens. So it's all of these different anxieties, all these different fears that I needed to make sure that I named and highlighted so that when I got to those points and nothing happened, I was able to calm myself and reassure myself. And that's exactly what I did. I made sure that when I got there, I told myself, right, you're here, you don't have to worry about that. Right, here's the water station, you don't have to worry about that. Here's the loo, you don't have to worry about that. Here's the tent, you don't have to worry about that. I kept subjecting myself to these micro fears all of the time until the big fear just became nothing. I was standing there moments before I was about to perform and there was an actual calmness because I realized that I'd done everything I possibly can now. It was time to deliver. And I channeled that fear as energy into that talk. And what happened. Really, it's about practice in safe places and take gradual steps. So don't just go diving into things that scare you. Take it really slow, really break it down into smaller steps and really give yourself the best chance you can to succeed. I want to say, first and foremost, thank you very much to Fern Cotton. It was so lovely to see you at the end and to get that photograph together. And just to say, sometimes you meet people who are in the public eye and they're not what you thought they was or what they showed themselves to be. And Fern Cotton was exactly what she seems. She was a lovely person, so much so that she thanked me for delivering my talk on the day, which I found funny because I was very, very grateful to her. We took a photograph together. She spoke to my son and my wife and she didn't seem to be in a rush or anything like that. So I really do appreciate your time. And thank you, Fern, for the opportunity. And I hope to do it again one day. Thank you to all the Happy Place staff for looking out for us. Everything from the beginning through emailing and all of that, all the way to being looked after on the day. It was absolutely an incredible experience. So thank you for that. And then thank you to all of those people that made it a sold out event, that gave me their time, gave me their trust and fed back to me how it made them feel afterwards. Thank you very much. Just as a token as well, on the day I mentioned that there was a code specifically for the people in that room for the self-made course. So if you need reminding of that, please do DM me on social media or email me and we'll make sure we get you that code. It runs out at the end of today. It's been running obviously since the weekend, so there is a bit of a time thing on that. But yeah, if you want to use the code on the self-made course, then please reach out. On that front, the self-made course is changing people's lives. I knew it would because it's everything I've seen work over time. There's no nonsense, there's no frills. We're using the MADE model, morals, ambitions, drivers, environments, to make sure that people align with their morals so they know who they are, so they stop doubting and start deciding. They're aligning with their ambitions and they're being true to themselves, not a version of themselves that they're told that they should be or other people want them to be. They are aligning with who they are and what they want from life. Also, your drivers, knowing what motivates you so that you can tap into it on them days when you just haven't got the energy or can't be bothered. We all have them. So it's really nice to know how to tap into that discipline, that motivation, that energy, them drivers. And then lastly, your environments. Your environment's the people, places and things that surround you that can either support the person you want to become or tear you down and stop you from reaching that place that you want to get to, that place of being unstuck, feeling successful, achieving the things that you want in life. And maybe that's just fulfillment and happiness, whatever it is. For anyone interested in the course, please go and check it out. The link's in the description of this. And I just want to say a huge thank you. Hopefully those pieces of, I don't know what to call them, insights, perspectives, wisdoms, tips, whatever you want to call them. Hopefully they are helpful and insightful. And I want to say a massive thank you for listening to the podcast today. And I will see you next week on another episode of the Johnny Lawrence podcast.